Hello, and welcome to the third and final part of the Castlevania Anniversary Collection review. You can watch part 2 in the card above, and part 1 will be in the description. And no, I did not manage to get both Super Castlevania 4 and Bloodlines physically. Oh well. Anyway, like stated before, at the time I only owned 2 Castlevania games. Castlevania The Adventure was one of them. And at the time, I've never played it. Now that I have, I don't like it. And I'll get into it. But first, known as Dracula Densatsu, translated to The Legend of Dracula, released in 1989 for the original Game Boy, and one of the 3 Castlevania games released for the original Game Boy. Released before Castlevania 3's Dracula's Curse, but taking place after Dracula's Curse in 1576. You play as Christopher Belmont, who is out to kill Dracula. Standard Castlevania stuff. So Chris here is a really bad Belmont. Like Belmont, he carries the Vampire Killer Whip and nothing else. Yep, no sub-weapon in this game, but the whip can be upgraded 3 times to the chain whip, and to the chain whip with a fireball. And that's it. And again, unlike the other Belmonts, he loses any time he gets hit. So get hit twice, and back to the regular whip you go. And it does piss poor damage. And man, Chris walks fucking slow. Like, I get it, the whole Belmont strength stuff, but man, this time it feels way more slower than before. And man, Chris's jumps feels really gimped. I really don't like how this game feels, and it feels like it has a fetish for ropes. And man, fuck the auto-scrolling level, and I get it, it's a Game Boy game, and I can give it some slack to a point, but this game still hasn't aged well. And another thing that hasn't aged well is the music of this game. Blasphemy, I know, for a Castlevania game, but hear me out. It just isn't that good. I will say this though, playing this on the collection is neat, since it has some filters. You have your basic monochrome filter, both filled height and perfect pixel. That look like when you're playing on a regular Game Boy Advance SP. And then you have it again, but this time with a Super Game Boy filter, so that's neat. And it has a scaline filter for some reason, but whatever, some people like that. But the one that I use is the dot matrix setting, since it's based off the original Game Boy screen. And playing this on the Switch is pretty neat. It's the closest thing to a Game Boy emulator we've had in the system so far. And looking at it from my original Game Boy, it's pretty close. But yeah, playing this on the original hardware doesn't make the game any better. It's still pretty bad, and I don't like it. But what I do like, it's its remake on the Wii. Yeah, I'm going to talk about it since I own it, so might as well. Castlevania The Adventure Rebirth is a complete remake of Castlevania The Adventure, released in 2009 for WiiWare, RIP Wii Shop channel. If you're going to play a version of Castlevania The Adventure, play this one, either with a hacked Wii or Dolphin, where you can play it at a higher resolution, which makes the sprites look super crisp compared to the Wii U. And you can use your original Wiimotes too. It's smoother, looks nicer, and has a proper soundtrack, and I can't recommend it enough. And what's crazy about it, they added sub-weapons in this game, so yeah, way better. So play it on Dolphin because the game hasn't been re-released ever since. Maybe one day, we'll see. But back to the non-Rebirth version of this game. Overall, I don't like it. That's it. I just don't like it. Moving on to the direct sequel of this game, Castlevania 2, Belmont's Revenge. So the second of the 3 Castlevania games on Game Boy, sorry Castlevania Legends, I'm sure they could have fit you in the compilation, but whatever, maybe for another time. Anyway, Castlevania 2 Belmont's Revenge, not to be confused with Castlevania 2 Simon's Quest. This is the game that Castlevania The Adventure should have been. Belmont's Revenge is leagues way better than Castlevania The Adventure. My god. Anyway, getting a bit ahead of myself. Released in 1991 as Dracula Densatsu 2, translated to The Legend of Dracula 2, released for the original Game Boy. Taking place 15 years after the adventure where Christopher Belmont's son, Soleil, however you pronounce that, has been corrupted by the power of Dracula. Now Chris has to save his son and stop Dracula once again. You go to 4 different castles a la Mega Man style: Crystal Castle, Rock Castle, Plant Castle, and Cloud Castle, with the final castle being, of course, Dracula's Castle, where you're fated to fight your son and slap him out of Dracula's control. Control-wise, it's similar to Castlevania The Adventure. It seems they went even further with the rope fetish. At least now it's tolerable, since you can now attack when you're on the rope, so that's an improvement. And the music in this game is actually pretty alright. Has a neat effect after you go through a door and you're near a boss battle, so that's pretty cool. I can't really say much of the game since a lot of the stuff have been said in past Castlevania games, other than it's a massive improvement over Castlevania The Adventure, and it's a shame that this didn't get the Rebirth treatment, because it's really good for a Game Boy game, and I can really recommend it. I still have no idea how Castlevania Legends is on the Game Boy, but maybe one day, but not today, because next up is Kid Dracula. So, Kid Dracula, originally released in Japan as Akumaju Special, Boku Dracula-kun, translated to Demon's Castle Special, I'm Kid Dracula, released in 1990 for the original Famicom. This, in a way, was released in America for the Game Boy, but that version is a hodgepodge of a sequel and a remake of the Famicom game. This, however, is an official translation of the game that was released with the Anniversary Collection. This is not your run-of-the-mill Castlevania. Actually, this is much more closer to Contra than Castlevania. You'll see what I mean. You play as the titular Kid Dracula, who is the son of Dracula, so Alucard, but he calls himself Kid Dracula, who just woke up from a slumber and is out to defeat Galamoth, this weird dragon thing that appears in Symphony of the Night later. Anyway, you go stage to stage, with each stage having a boss fight at the end of it, or in some cases, a quiz battle with Lady Liberty herself. Kid Dracula can shoot projectiles in 4 directions, get abilities and special projectiles after each stage. The main weapons you can use is by holding the B button. You have your normal fireball, you have your homing projectile fireballs, an ice projectile that freaks his enemies, and you have a bomb that explodes and lingers for a bit. For abilities, you have the power of the bat, which can turn you into a bat, but touch anything or get hurt and you'll be turned back to normal. You have the power of up, up, down, down, which is the anti-gravity move, so you can walk up on ceilings. It's pretty simple in concept, but some of the levels gets pretty challenging platforming-wise, but I managed to finish it in one setting. At the end of each level, you're able to choose the path so you can play a minigame, where you can spend the medals you collect from enemies so you can get extra lives. You have roulette, where you gamble the medals into extra lives. Can, where you guess what color they're hiding underneath the skirts. Sounds kid-friendly. Garapon, where you spin this barrel and hope a marble colored in anything but white drops. And finally, you have Jab and Bop. It's just Pop-Up Pirate. Overall, it's a fun little game and a neat addition to the collection. I can definitely recommend it. Kid Dracula himself has appeared in other media, like just recently in Super Smash Bros. Ultimate, where he's a spirit, and his shadow appears in the Dracula stage, so that's pretty neat. Now let's do a quick wrap-up of the Japanese versions available in the collection, so I can move on with my life. Alright, so Castlevania 1, other than the title screen, there is now an easy mode where you get 9 lives, you start off with 30 hearts instead of 5, and the biggest thing is that you don't get pushed back when damaged. So that's pretty cool. Castlevania 2 Simon's Quest gets nothing in the collection, but the Japanese version of Bloody Tears is played on the title screen, so that's something. Castlevania 3, the whole soundtrack was different due to a whole different sound chip used in the Japanese version. Take a listen. Other than the music, there are tons of edited sprites like these rabbits becoming Fleamen in the US version. I'll put a link to the cutting room floor if you all want to see. Super Castlevania 4. You can tell from the intro screen that they censored it. They also changed the HUD for some reason, and the whip sound effects is also changed for a reason. Castlevania the Adventure. Still sucks. Moving on. Castlevania 2 Belmont's Revenge. The biggest change is the Holy Cross became the axe in the American version. Other than that, nothing much has changed. Castlevania Bloodlines. First, one of the big differences is that in Vampire Killer, Eric's face looks a bit more anime, and the localization team found it a bit feminine, so they changed it to what the international version is now. Okay, so I'm going to cheat a bit and use an emulator for this one. So let's begin. Castlevania the New Generation. It's censored. Corpses removed, the blood effects gone. It's pretty neutered to the core, but the game is still itself, and it's very playable still. And finally, we have Kid Dracula. It's still Kid Dracula, with the only change being the title screen. Neat. And with that, I'm done with the Castlevania Anniversary Collection. Can I recommend it? If it goes on sale, yeah, go for it. It's a great compilation of great Castlevania games and Castlevania the Adventure. Anyway, I've been Fonzie. Follow me on Twitter at Fonzie's Revenge. Watch me live on Twitch at twitch.tv/Fonzman. And I'll see you next time on whatever I decide what's next. Bye.